The man who created the modern elite. Edward Bernays is the reason we pair bacon and eggs, and why we eat them for breakfast instead of dinner. He also convinced women to start smoking by associating cigarettes with women's rights. And he helped overthrow the Guatemalan government in a CIA coup to protect the United Fruit Company, now called Chiquita Bananas, hence the term Banana Republic. To drum up elite clients like these, Bernays wrote a book in 1928 called Propaganda. In it, he sells his services to rich and powerful people who want to be part of the elite. What Bernays did was different from mere advertising. He was shaping the forces of public opinion and directing the benefit to his clients. For instance, Bernays created the National Soap Carving Competition as a way to sell ivory soap bars for Procter & Gamble. He teamed up with Centers for Arts and public schools to promote the carving contests. From there, most of the publicity surrounding ivory soap was provided free by newspapers covering the carvings, the artwork, and the children. That's a more innocent example of how Bernays shaped public opinion. To help the CIA orchestrate the overthrow of the Guatemalan government, Bernays convinced the American people that communism abroad threatened Americans at home. In reality, everyone in the US government knew that the Guatemalan government was not the slightest threat to America. They were a threat only to the United Fruit Company. But Bernays managed to spend American tax dollars to protect the United Fruit Company while impoverishing and killing innocent Guatemalans. In Propaganda, Bernays builds the archetype of the elite, giving his clients something to identify with and strive for. The first few paragraphs of the book perfectly describe the profile of the modern elite. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. Our invisible governors are in many cases unaware of the identity of their fellow members in the inner cabinet. Whatever attitude one chooses towards this condition, it remains a fact that in almost every act in our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons, a trifling fraction of our population, who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. Bernays, of course, was one of these powerful elite pulling the strings. He started off working for President Woodrow Wilson during World War I. Bernays saw how the emergency was used by Wilson to gain dictatorial power. Bernays observed that people were responding to powerful emotional triggers to go to war, not necessarily logical arguments. It was fear of the enemy and camaraderie of a nation coming together for a higher purpose. He expanded these tactics into commercial applications using psychological triggers to sell an emotional connection to a product, rather than simply highlight the uses. For instance, when it came to opening up the market for cigarettes to women, Bernays staged a Torches for Freedom stunt, where attractive women lit up cigarettes during a parade. The media spread the message across the US for free, and women came to see lighting up a cigarette in public as a statement that they were equal to men. In Propaganda, Bernays gives us a remarkably candid exposure of the tactics that would shape the 20th century and continue today. There are invisible rulers who control the destinies of millions. It is not generally realized to what extent the words and actions of our most influential public men are dictated by shrewd persons operating behind the scenes. In some departments of our life in which we imagine ourselves free agents, we are ruled by dictators exercising great power. Many choices we seem to make on our own are truly the influence of seemingly insignificant players in whatever industry or field. Bernays convinced a prominent doctor to recommend a hearty, protein-rich breakfast of eggs and bacon. The doctor wrote to his colleagues, and word spread from there that doctors recommend bacon and eggs to start the day right. This removed bacon from competing with other dinner meats and made it the go-to breakfast meat. I truly crave bacon and eggs on a Saturday morning. But would I even think to make this meal if it was never ingrained in the consumer psyche, using health experts as a catalyst? Bernays was so upfront about these influences, first because he wasn't talking to normal everyday people. Remember, he wrote the book Propaganda to sell his services to powerful people. But also, Bernays didn't think propaganda was a bad thing. He saw it as a method to safeguard a democratic society. They govern us, he said, by their qualities of natural leadership, their ability to supply needed ideas, and their key positions in the social structure. To Bernays, rising to certain positions of influence in government, industry, media, arts, and commerce was proof that a person was fit to be part of the invisible government. He essentially modeled the quintessential elite after himself, that is, someone who can control public opinion and get what they want by manipulating the masses. Like Bernays, an effective elite will be able to access and influence other power nodes to shape the right subsets of the population for particular ends. For example, in 1929, Bernays organized an event purporting to celebrate 50 years since the invention of the light bulb. He called it Light's Golden Jubilee. Thomas Edison himself headlined the event to accept an award. The real point of the event was to drum up business for General Electric and Ford Motors, which paid for the celebration. Without access to famous people like Edison, Bernays could never have arranged such a prominent award ceremony, which attached nostalgic and inventive consumer emotions to GE and Ford products. It's the same idea behind Time's Person of the Year and the Nobel Peace Prize. President Obama's campaign in advertising arms could spend billions and never have the same impact on public opinion as him receiving a Nobel Peace Prize, which, remember, happened before Obama drone-bombed kids, wedding parties, and American citizens in the Middle East for 8 years. Elites are always gatekeepers. They control crucial access points in society, politics, and business. The more centralized a society, the easier it is to control which people receive the blessings of public opinion. The elites manufacture and control access and status. And in a vicious cycle, those who have been given status stand as doormen, ready to turn away any who will not promote the interests of the elite. But as we will discover, the tactics of the elite have been exposed. Not only does this make people less susceptible to their tricks, but it also provides the tools required to reach the masses with your message. That is why in the following sections, we will discuss the importance of becoming powerful, the ethics of using the elite's tactics, and proven ways to gain power in tumultuous times. Subscribe below for more content like this. This is actually an excerpt from a longer report. If you want to read that or listen to it right now, follow the link below. Thanks for watching.